Okay, so all right, before we go, let's say before explain what an infill development is.
So it's where you buy like a typically an oversized lot, where you're able to sever into at least two lots.
But it's within an existing
The urban boundary.
the urban boundary. So
Yeah.
an older part of town, maybe it's a wartime house where they had the small house on the big lot, and if the house is over on one side of the lot, maybe it's a double lot. And so we were able to buy this kind of small cottage. It had a double 100-foot wide lot. So if we can sever it down the middle pretty well, we can create another lot. So we're creating an infill lot.
Sorry, but that cottage was like in a suburban area. It wasn't.
Yep.
It wasn't like Muskoka on a lake.
No,
cottage.
it's more core residential Wasaga Beach.
Yeah.
10 minutes walk from the beach, though.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Is there a certain age range that you find these lots in?
Not really, like age or even location. It depends. So, for example, like if you're in Hamilton, on the mountain, there's going to be different zoning than if you're in the lower city. Lower city, you're going to be able to do denser product. There's going to be, the setbacks are going to be less.
Yeah.
So we don't really have a, I say, ideal age or location.
Right.
It all depends on the zoning.
I'm just thinking like certain areas have different lot sizes. First, because like today it's townhouses, so
Yeah.
that will never work.
Like Andy, what would you explain? Because you recently bought something in Brantford.
Yep.
And you were looking specifically for that large lot that's going to fit a garden suite. Like,
Yeah.
what would you? Those are those like 1950s, 60s.
Well, it depends what you're doing. So if you're doing, let's say, just a garden suite, it's very much the same strategy as a second suite. So a garden suite really is you're just
we're
adding
throwing
in.
all this terminology people in it right
Oh.
now, but no.
So you want me to define garden suite?
Yeah, define a garden suite.
garden
I call
suite
it a backyard suite.
Yeah, so garden suite.
So everyone owes
many
me
different
25
names.
cents every
That's a
time
new
I
one.
say it.
Yeah.
Coach houses, backyard suites, detached accessory dwelling units. Basically, it's just a detached single unit that is in your backyard or in your side yard. And this is new legislation from the provincial government. It came into effect in 2019, and municipalities are basically trying to come up with policies to figure out how they're going to implement them into their cities.
Right.
So
and it's a full self-contained apartment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the unique thing in Ontario is that these are allowed to be third units, whereas in other jurisdictions, other provinces, and in the U.S., they're only allowed as second units. So in Ontario, we're allowed to do them as third units, right? So they're really pushing the density. And the strategies in terms of lots for that kind of housing strategy is really no different from what everybody's been doing with the duplexing, with the 2 units. You're looking at really the R1 suburban types of homes where you can add that in. The infill, though, is not necessarily in those kind of R1 neighborhoods. It's usually a little bit more challenging because the lot sizes are more uniform, so you're going to get more resistance. But if you go into a little bit of the R2 zones where the lots are a little bit irregular, there's not consistency, you can kind of push that through, and there's usually better support from the city. Right. That's kind of what I see when I speak to planners, is they kind of want to look for opportunities to densify without disturbing the neighborhood too much.
Other than irregular lot sizes, are there ways for folks to identify neighborhoods for infill opportunity? Like, for example, when we're talking about for bungalows and basement suiting, we're usually looking at 1950s and 60s bungalows.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Is there an era for that when these irregular lots were more commonplace?
I find it's pre-1950. I find it's like early 20th century.
Right.
Like anywhere between like 1900 to like 1940, 1950 is kind of the sweet spot. Like in all the ones that we've worked on,
previous projects,
it's all pre-1950s.
Yeah.
It's all pre-war.
Even
right?
Yep.
Weston St. Catharines, that was like a 1902 corner lot.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to try to help the listener understand what to look for.
Sure.
Right. So if we can when for example when we identified 1950s bungalow, I know exactly where to go.
I think the easier way to say it is just look for that extra large lawn, or like I say, look for the green. Go on Google Maps, go bike, go drive, go look for the green.
Yeah.
Go look for that detached garage on the side, that extra large side yard, rear yard, corner lots we love. Simple as that.
Or even a single family home where maybe they've done a large side addition. So maybe you can actually remove the addition, maintain that existing house, and create a new lot. So you got to be really creative these days. But yeah, they're all over the place.
They are all over the place, and that's one of the things that we want to teach our students is how to look for these opportunities, because they're literally everywhere. There's not like certain neighborhoods. The only thing that Andy was talking about is you want to avoid the very uniform neighborhoods. In fact, we saw a deal recently in St. Catharines that we looked at the zoning bylaws, it could be severed, but we thought the risk was higher, so we didn't put an offer on there because the whole neighborhood was uniform, and that was in North End St. Catharines. So we decided to pass on that. So that's one of the tests that the Committee of Adjustments will take when they decide whether to grant the severance or not, is whether it fits the existing character of the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the big aspects that we look for.
So you mentioned St. Catharines. Are there certain cities you guys prefer?
We are working.
You talk about Wasaga.
Yeah. Well, we've stretched. We've widened our area recently.
You went north.
Yeah. Went towards water, right? With the lockdowns, obviously the cottage country and places like Grand Bend or Wasaga Beach or Kawartha, stuff like that. That's some hot property right now.
You guys cover all those areas?
No, I'm just like
so Wasaga is a little far. Like, I don't know if we would necessarily do that again unless it was a great deal, especially for small scale infill. Mm-hmm. We like to try to stay within like hour and a half, let's say.
Mm-hmm. So this is where I don't mind, because I'm in, actually even Andy, he's in North York, Scarborough, I'm in North York. So for me, Wasaga is an hour 15, hour and a half. That's maybe.
That's it?
It's not bad. And St. Catharines is that hour 15, hour and a half. So it's kind of a sweet spot for me.
Kawartha Lakes is also a good opportunity as well.
So
they're very progressive there, so you could potentially do some.
So we have decided to kind of stretch out our boundaries a little bit, and in the scenario in Wasaga is we might not build. We could potentially flip the existing home or the existing cottage, or hold on to it for ourselves, sever a new lot, and sell it to a builder. You don't have to swing a hammer.
Yeah.
So
you guys can contain yourselves to not do something, not dig a hole.
That'll be
and
hard.
build something?
I really want to build up there.
Even though it's so far.
It's all sand, and for the most part, it's like a dream to build on sand. It's just a great soil.
Okay, so elaborate on the strategy. Okay, so you buy a house with extra green space.
Yep.
Now what do? You tear down the house and then you burn it down. What do you do?
We prefer a strategy that we coined as the keep and sever strategy, where we keep the house, sever it, and build on the new lot or new lots if it's multiple. Some people like to tear down. We look at that as an option, but in the markets that we've been working at, mainly like Hamilton, St. Catharines, it hasn't made sense to tear down where the majority of the value is. It also helps you obtain financing. If you're gonna tear down, you can't qualify for financing legally.
They
or
say
you could, but it wouldn't be your traditional financing.
Yeah.
Right? You
Could
could
you
get private. You
Could
can
you
get
even get
private.
B-lending if you're tearing down?
You won't be able to get B-lend. If you're tearing down and you let them know, there's no way they're gonna do that.
Yeah.
Now, if you
You're
don't,
supposed to let them know.
Yeah, exactly. Now with land, you're typically looking at 50% loan to value, and the value is going to be way less too. So that's why we like to buy houses, even if they're terrible houses. In fact, we prefer the terrible houses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For two things.
We sold you a pretty terrible one. Right?
Yeah, exactly. We've bought our fair share of terrible houses, but we see the problems as opportunities, though. So one, as a potential uplift if you renovate the house. Secondly, from a development perspective, if you are telling the city, hey, look, I'm looking to beautify this corner, I want to sever, I want to do this, they're a lot more likely to approve that versus if it's already a really nice house. Right. And I wish maybe on the podcast we could show a picture of Weston and Edith corner.
We discussed it today.
Where Tammy DiTomaso, she sold the initial lot to us, then she sold the existing house because we didn't want to
we severed.
Yeah, once we severed. Then she helped us sell the two new semis as well, Edith. But that corner has been completely transformed.
It was this rundown little bungalow.
Completely rundown.
Kind of just like in and out tenants, like awful looking. And now it's the new buyer renovated the bungalow, brand new siding, exterior looks great. We built the semis in behind it, so like you said, completely changed the look.
And part of that's fulfilling too, like seeing, being part of a transformation of the neighborhood is great, and we see that spur other developments. Now I'm not saying we're the first ones to Western Hill neighborhood in St. Catharines there, but every development helps spur other investments.
So I want the listeners to understand, because this is probably the problem with beginners is they think that they think they have to be buying something nice. Now I remember, I think it was the Weston property. It failed the marble test.
Oh, I have a video of that.
That was bad.
Rob Chain,
Is it on your Instagram?
I think it probably is.
Wait, were we in the crawl space? We have a video. Of
I have that
us.
too, the crawl space.
Leaning.
Rob Chain, our home inspector, was there, and he brought a marble. He put it down on the floor, and it rolled really fast to the other
You
side.
shouldn't roll that fast.
No, it was terrible.
Steve probably built it.